attend a convention, it's a pretty good idea to stay at a hotel nearby.
Unless you're right around the corner, you're going to be tired and you're going to want to have a place to crash for the night. So one of the questions we ask is, should you always look at the hotel that's offered by the convention itself? Usually convention centers or have a hotel attached to them, or the convention itself is at a hotel.
Yeah, and the convention, if it knows what it's doing, will set up a hotel block, what's called a hotel block, and they'll have a good chunk of the rooms reserved for attendees to book. And it's either you have a special code or URL you go to, or you book over the phone and say, hey, I'm going to this thing on these dates, I'd like to book a room. And it's almost always cheaper than online rates because, they're bringing in guaranteed business, so the hotel will knock off some percentage of the cost. But it might not always be the cheapest option in town.
Yep. So definitely look around. Sometimes you'll see other hotels in the area have a cheaper rate. If you have AAA, you can sometimes get it that way. But there also might be hidden values too, like some hotels will have things like free wireless internet, if that's a big thing for you, or free breakfast in the morning. So there might be other values that you can find as well. But I would always say look at the convention's host hotel first, because you kind of want to support the convention. If they don't fill that block, sometimes they can actually have a financial penalty. So if you want to support the convention, try and help them fill their room block as much as possible.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're looking outside of convention rates, because sometimes a con will have multiple hotels if it's a really big one, be careful with what you're booking. A lot of times you'll see what's called an advance purchase reservation. You will be paying for the entire reservation upfront once you book, and it's like 99% of the time it's not refundable. That's something that a lot of hotels do to get guaranteed bookings that they know will come, and they entice people by having a discount. And it'll say it when you book it. Like, whenever you book a hotel, make sure you read, what all, it's not a ton of fine print. It's not like iTunes is terms of agreement. It's not very long. So you want to make sure you know what you're paying for up front when you hit reserve, because sometimes there might you might not be paying for everything up front, but sometimes there might be a deposit, and you see this sometimes with con rates too.
Yep. The other thing too, when booking and when you're arriving, is how you pay. If you pay with a debit card, sometimes there's an incidentals hold, which if you're paying with your credit card, they just hold it in case, just in case you order room service or something like that. Whereas if you have a debit card, that money's actually taken out of your account. So you got to make sure you have enough to cover that charge as well. And that's something if you're not sure about, ask when you make your reservation. And this is one of the reasons why it's sometimes better to call.
Yeah, ask the hotel, not the con, because the con might not know. And I'm not exactly sure why it is, but I think the reason is, like, when you have a credit card and say you have like $1,000 limit, that means like the hotel knows they can charge you like up to $1,000. They can really even charge you more when you go over your credit limit, and that's just bad. But with a debit card, there's really no way to guarantee that the hotel will get that money from you, because it might get rejected by your bank if there's not enough money. Like if you buy a $5 coffee and a muffin, you'll get maybe overdrafted. But if it's a $500 hotel room, that might just get outright rejected if you don't have enough money. So it's kind of, I don't know the exact thing. If you do, let us know, because that would actually be kind of cool if we knew exactly why hotels do this. But that's not really information that you see when you book a room, because I think they're mostly used to credit cards, and I know debit cards have grown a lot in the last 15-20 years. They still haven't quite caught up to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can pay, and you can pay with cash if you want to. Like, if you're anti-credit cards and banks and debit cards, you can do cash. Just let the hotel know, and they'll work out a deposit system with you, and they want your money.
Yeah.
So they'll work with you.
They'll work with you. Definitely, though, the preferred way is definitely have a credit card up front. Now, sometimes you go to book your hotel room through the convention, and the hotel block isn't up yet, and you go to the hotel's website, and it says the hotel is sold out. That's don't panic there, first off. Usually what this means is they've already set aside that room block, but they haven't set up the reservation system. Usually the hotel will create a specific website for the convention itself, so they are making sure those rooms aren't taken away accidentally.
Or they'll have a code or sometimes that you just call, which is kind of annoying. I like doing it online. But sometimes hotels will work, especially in for really big conventions, they'll work with companies that kind of do these conference hotel things. One of them is called On Peak, which I know works with PAX East and probably other Reed things. Is you go, and it's kind of like going to hotels.com, is you go and you search the dates and it'll show you all the hotels that are available, because those say big conventions have like PAX has got to have like PAX East has got to have like 25 hotels because they bring in so many freaking people, and it'll show you which ones are available and which ones aren't, and they're all over Boston.
Yeah, they'll
and
give you everything.
I think they do the same thing on New York Comic Con because that's also run by Reed. And on the other hand is a company called Passkey, and I think they work with individual hotels because, like in the case of Dragon Con, Marriott doesn't really need to set up their website to be, hit by thousands of people at one time, because that happens like once, and that's Dragon Con. And so Passkey, they haven't quite gotten there yet either. But Passkey kind of takes the responsibility away from Marriott, who needs to do all these other things, not just book every single room for Dragon Con in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So Passkey kind of takes that on. So that's what On Peak and Passkey are. I'm sure there are other companies, but when you hear those, they help the hotels and the cons take care of conference and convention bookings.
Yep. So then the kind of one of the next questions we hear a lot from people coming into the hotels is, can they check in early or check out late? And early check-in, a lot of times it really depends on the hotels. You can always request it, but they won't. They will probably give you some tricky language.
Yeah, they can't guarantee it. Sometimes I haven't booked as. I know people have booked as early as like 6 a.m. It all depends on what they had the night before, and sometimes they had like nothing, and now like conventions come. I mean, if usually like the day before a con, you have more luck of checking in early than the first day of the con. But it is really hit or miss. I've been all over the map. I've had rooms not be ready on time, which is fine. It's just something to work with.
What it comes down to is they need time to clean the rooms from the previous guests.
You don't want to be in a room that has been cleaned from the previous guests.
And late checkout, once again, it really varies. This is where I think it's a good time to talk about kind of rewards and reward program rewards. There's Starwood. All these companies have loyalty programs.
They're all free.
Yep. And you get points for signing up, which, if you go to a lot of conventions, builds up. And you get little perks, one of them being late checkout.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And
I won't mention the hotel. I'm a gold member. You want to get me late checkout? Come on.
Yeah, so but they kind of reward you for using them again and again. And they some of them even track some of your special requests, like, they say you like a newspaper to always be delivered, like say you want the New York Times every morning. They make that note, they track it and things like that. So it behooves you to really join these programs, and once again, they're free.
Yeah, and it keeps your kind of information like that, so it also makes booking a little bit easier because you can log in and it'll automatically fill in info like that. And I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, okay, so as someone who goes to a lot of conventions, sometimes you don't stay at the hotel every time. So I have like a bazillion of these rewards programs. But I mostly stay at Starwood hotels, which is Sheridan's, Westin's, other ones. But mostly I stay at Sheridan's and Westin's. So I'm able to build up a lot of points for that quickly. And what I also did was I got a Starwood American Express card, because you get certain bonus points for booking with a room that you get like triple. I don't know. You get points for like signing up, and then you get points if you spend like a certain amount in a certain amount of time. And then there's like special link stuff. Like if you buy stuff from this company, you get triple points. But like with any credit card, be careful not to overspend, because you got to pay that back, right? So I have one with Starwood and Hilton, and the Hilton one, I like when I stayed at PortCon, I got like triple points, which was really cool. So they see that, and they also see that you're a loyal customer, and that can get you things like upgrades. Like when I went to, I don't remember what con it was, but they're like, oh, I mean, they upgraded from us like a basic room to a deluxe room, which was like 25 square feet bigger. But it was in this tower that was like away from the convention that they put the airline pilots in, so it was quiet and we had our own elevator. So you can possibly get upgrades, and if you have a credit card, and maybe look into getting one of those rewards credit cards because you can get even more points.
Yep. And once again, the great treatment is another one. Too, we mentioned the early check-in is some of these reward programs means you can skip the line for check-in, and during a convention when everyone's trying to check in, that can save a good amount of time, like maybe 10 minutes at least off your check-in time, which was great because you want to go see the convention. One of the other things I wanted to bring up too is really look and do your research about what amenities are going to be in the hotel. Things like a microwave or a refrigerator or things like that.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Free Wi-Fi. Everyone has Wi-Fi now, but sometimes it costs like a fortune. And that's another thing you can get with the rewards programs is free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but look at it carefully because every hotel has
every hotel is different.
And you start to learn kind of the brands. Like, once again, we mentioned Marriott, the Fairfield Inn and Suites. They usually have things like a refrigerator and a microwave as part of every hotel room.
And breakfast.
Yeah, and then there are other ones where you can request it and they'll have it for you ready, or sometimes they'll have it, they say you can request it but not be guaranteed, or you might have to pay a fee for it, things like that. So once again, really do your research. The one thing I will say this is if you have medication that needs to be refrigerated, make that known when you book your reservation because they need to be able to provide that for you. That is something that's super vital because you need your medication, obviously.
Yeah, and I find that it's not the norm to have a microwave and fridge, but that might be because I usually go to cons big cities. It's weird, when I go to like smaller hotels, that's where the microwaves and fridges are, like in Days Inns and stuff. But you can always call and request it. Another question we see sometimes is people like, what's a rollaway bed? So a rollaway bed is basically like a fancy cot. It's like almost like a rolling twin bed. So if, usually you can only get them with king rooms. So you get stuck with a king room. See if you can get a rollaway bed, and then like if there's 4 people in the room, then you have 2 in the king, and then, or maybe 3 in the king if you're a little, and the rollaway bed, and then an air mattress, and then you're good to go. So that's what that is. Parking. Oh my god, parking can suck.
Yeah, a lot of them, especially city hotels.
Always.
If you're driving in, you're gonna probably have to pay
you're
for
gonna pay through the nose.
So my advice is if you're going to a city con and you're driving in, don't find another option like see if you can take the subway or something like that. I know for some of our friends for Anime Boston, what they'll do is they'll drive in, drop off all their stuff, and then they'll go drop off the car at a T station, and then take the subway back into the city. Because
it's like $8 a night versus like $35.
Yeah.
And there might be some garages that are in a different part of the city that do better overnight rates if you aren't quite familiar with the city. See if you're in a city, you're definitely paying for parking unless you're like some diamond ultimate level of a hotel, and they're probably like, oh, parking, don't worry, we got that. I'm sure everyone would like love to stay at a suite at a convention. Those are usually like never included in a con rate because they just want people to pay for those. Your best bet for getting a suite is like seeing if you can upgrade a room if you're a rewards member, I think. So you have like 10 to 15 points kicking around. It's sometimes enough for a free room, but if you call and say, hey, do you have any well, don't say that means you'll look professional. So, do you have any suites available for this reservation I have? Can I upgrade with points? And they'll see what they can do, I guess.
And to be fair, I mean, unless you are planning to need a lot of space in your room, I'm always kind of like, do you really need that upgrade during the convention? Because how much time do you really want to be spending in your hotel room? You want to be going to the convention. I mean, definitely you want to be comfortable when it's time to relax, but don't live in your hotel room. You're there for the con.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of, well, kind of a lot of it,
Yeah.
of what we've experienced. Not just going to hotels. Doug used to work at a hotel. I used to book travel for a company like crazy. So we're happy to answer any questions you guys have about hotels.
Let us know.
Call us or email us or post on the forums or tweet or I don't know if
I don't know if we have Instagram yet. But yeah, ask us questions, and when you're making your reservation, ask the hotel questions.
Yeah, don't go to the. If you have a specific hotel question, don't go to the con. Go right to the hotel. You're paying the money. They should be able to answer your question.
All right.
So enjoy your next hotel stay at your next convention.
Sleep well.